back to my channel. My name is Rachel, that is the R in the RK Stumbling Bear, and I am a reader and a writer. And today I am back to do my book review for A Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is a romance space opera, and I do put the romance first because it hits all the romance elements or all the beats of a romance. And the background is the space opera. You still get a lot of rich world building details, but it does lack the final, or it does lack the bigger impact of normally what a space opera has going on. And this book really is more focused between the relationship of Kiem and Janin. A quick synopsis of this book: Count Janin's husband, the Prince Tam, has died, and Prince Kiem is told that he's now going to marry him because Janin is the treaty ambassador of another world, and they need that marriage to solidify the treaty between that world and their world. So that world is Thea. This world is Iskat, where Kiem is from. And this is important because a bigger galactic society has a treaty resolution coming up that needs to be renewed with the Iskanters? The Iskanners. All the treaties that Iskat has needs to be in place. Otherwise, this other bigger galactic treaty can't happen. But as Kiem quickly finds, not everything is as it seems. It's not simply a marriage. There are things that the Emperor and his cousins have not told him. This lack of information ends up coming from the auditor from the Galactic Empire when they go down for their interview to be approved as the representatives verified by the auditor. This book is so much fun. So I guess we'll do some non-spoiler thoughts first. This book has a rich world building. So even though we only are looking really at mainly one culture, we're getting snippets of some other cultures. We're mainly looking at the Iskat culture, and we're getting a bigger dose of the Thea culture. But there's 6 other planets that have treaties with Iskat, who they mention by name. I like that Maxwell doesn't go into the nitty-gritty of each culture, just highlights what's important to these two. Maxwell herself is queer, and you can see that love is built into this society, or both of the societies, as both the Iskanners and the Theans have different ways to represent what their gender is. In Iskat, if you are female, you wear flint somewhere on your person. If you're male, you wear a wooden ornament on your person. And if you are non-binary, you wear glass or nothing. For Theans, it's all in how you tie your scarf. And they show a little bit of that confusion at the very beginning when Kiem has a video meeting with Janin's sister, and she's wearing a wooden ornamentation. But his assistant had very clearly said this is his sister. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to have to learn how they designate if they are male or female. Having that manner of designation, it makes it just more natural in the sense, as the society then pays way more attention to what you are wearing, since that is your identifier of your gender. You get a little bit more description in that instance. Also, something I thought was interesting in this society, it reminded me a lot of the Dealing with Dragons, where the Dragon Society has titles for their jobs, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, that's just your title. That's kind of how Iskat is. So the Emperor is female, it's his grandmother, and then all the cousins are prince. So it doesn't matter if you're male, female, or non-binary, your title is prince, which simplifies it just to be like, this is the station, so it's prince and emperor. There's not the emphasis put on if you're female or non-binary that you're less than a male. Nope, you have the same title. Something that Maxwell does really well is with the characters, they each have their own level of snark, but it's not the same snark. Kind of how all of us have different personalities and different senses of humor. We all respond differently to things. And you could see, especially between Kiem and his assistant Belle, there is this comfortable relationship between them. As Kiem is acting morose and Belle's like, yeah, I don't think so. And having that level of comfort between them, she knows exactly what she can say and how far she can push it, even though she's an assistant and this is her job. And also with Kiem's personality, he invites that more intimate relationship. He invites that more easygoing relationship. All right, I think I'm going to transfer into my spoiler-filled thoughts. So, like I said, this is a romance set in a space opera, which means that you get the space opera, bigger galactic world nonsense. And this actually isn't a spoiler because it's in the synopsis, but the auditor has found evidence that Prince Tam was murdered. His flybug crash was not an accident. And Janin is one of the potential suspects, or one of the saboteurs, potentially. And that's due to his educational background. So like I said, it's not really a spoiler because it is on the synopsis. I think it would have been better if they hadn't put it on the synopsis, because where it comes up in the story, that would have been a real like kind of thing. So I guess I should have said earlier, don't read the synopsis when you're going to read this book. Just know it's a romance. Maybe I'll add that in my outro thought. I mean, back to character. Everina did a really great job of giving her characters depth. Even the walk-on parts, you can tell they have more going on. How they're interacting is just one piece of them, and that is very satisfying to see. An example would be Gerard, who is a Thean, who is from Janin's clan and is upset because Janin has been ignoring her since she came to study abroad on Iskat. And nobody in the Thean world has known what's going on with Janin. It's like he just broke all ties with them. So they're all pretty angry with him. And this is where the trigger warning of abuse would come in. He has been in an abusive relationship and has not told anyone or complained to anyone about it. People know, especially the associates of Tam, they knew that he was abusing his partner. But they never really said anything because, oh, he's a Thean, he's the outsider. But that is a theme that you pick up slowly in the book as Janin is getting to be more comfortable with Kiem. You see at first he's very deferential. Well, whatever my schedule is. And Kiem's like, whatever you want your schedule to be. I don't care. Because Kiem's a completely different personality. And so where Janin is very academically smart, has these degrees about deep space mining, Kiem is very personable. He's he approves of education. He likes people. He likes dealing with people, and so often he'll be going to charity events, helping raise money for charity. That's more his style of things. And both of these men have been told not to get involved in politics. They're just there to be treaty representatives for the bigger galactic treaty that's going to be going on. However, with this is where Everina does really well with the space opera. They can't help but get involved in the politics when the auditor rejects them and then lets them know that Janin is a murder suspect. And they're like, wait, what? And so then they're both scrambling to try to figure out how can we convince the auditor that we are acceptable of this treaty and that both of our governments are behind us, and everything starts to become clear in the story. Maxwell did a great job layering this romance as well, from a political match to showing there is interest on both sides to them breaking through and having to communicate. So often in romance books, the third act breakup is because of a miscommunication. that's not quite what happens here, and I loved that she went a different way, because the whole book has been about, or their whole relationship has been about miscommunication. They're from different cultures. They're trying to find the words to explain what is going on or how they feel. And they both keep stopping each other going, wait a minute, what are you saying? And trying to fix their little missteps. Like when Kiam finds out that Janen's security clearance has been 2 years ago had been revoked, and so he hasn't been speaking to his family or any of the other Thean representatives or expats, and he's like, what the bad word? And he's like, no, this is not the correct behavior, and he's like, we're getting this fixed because you should not have to ask permission to talk to your family. That is not a thing. And I just really love the relationship between them both. And I love that this was set in a space opera. This is a standalone, and I know she is writing a companion novel because it's set in the same universe. But at this point, I don't know if we're even going to see these characters. Because this is a romance set in a space opera, you can't technically have a sequel with these characters, because a sequel would imply that their happily ever after that they were given at the end of the book isn't going to stay happy. So in normal romance things, you have to have companion novels. And in that case, I would like to see them and other people's stories just in the background doing their things, maybe interacting, maybe not. I think Garad, the student that Janen, or from his clan that he interacts with, would be an interesting person, especially I'd like to find out more about the Thean politics. I think Belle would be interesting to follow. She's a fallen, kind of find out more what happens, especially because this book hinted that maybe these two individuals would become ambassadors to a bigger galactic universe. From the synopsis of the next book, it looks like we're looking at two completely different characters. But I'm definitely wanting more in this world, and yeah. Like I said, with the romance, you can't have a traditional sequel where we follow these two characters, because then that implies that something didn't, or they're not getting their happily ever after. And I want these two to have a happily ever after. I want them to continue to be happy, but I do want more of this world. For my outro, I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm not sure if it has made my top 10 of the year actually, or if it's going to just be an honorable mention. But if you like romance, this is definitely a book you should read. If you like romance stories set in science fiction worlds, this is definitely a book you should read. Thank you, and have a great day.